welcome back to the Bookworms, buddy. Today's video is not about books. It is about writing. I don't know if I've mentioned it on my vlog before, but I am a poet. I do write poetry, and I have several pieces that have been published in various books. So it's not my book of poems. My poem was just showcased in the book. And I just never had the funds to actually buy the book that they had been published in. There were several different books. So I just found a new channel by way of Tuesday Talks, actually. And it's Tamara from Tamara Woods. And she is a poet herself, and she is an aspiring novelist. She is working on a novel, but she also has a poetry blog called the Reverie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link to Tamara's YouTube or BookTube, and also I'm going to link to her poetry blog called the Reverie. While we were talking, Tamara really inspired me to put my poetry back out there and share it with the world. I want to tell you a little story before I go any further. I did have a website called Messages of the Heart, and this website was hosted with Geocities. I had pages upon pages because I had a ton of poems that were on this site. I designed this site. I wrote my own HTML. I even sometimes designed my own backgrounds to highlight certain poetry. And then years later, Geocities decided they no longer wanted to host free sites. Because of all the work and time and blood and sweat and tears that I invested into this site, I did not have the heart to do it all over again. Just because the work was there. It was a workload to do. And so I just said goodbye to the site because we didn't have a whole lot of warning. And it was bye-bye. Luckily, I have all my poetry on my computer. Until one day, I was working on my computer, and it had been doing crazy things. And my husband and I were talking, and we decided that I needed to reformat my hard drive. So he had me save everything I wanted to save, and then we could just transfer it all back on to my computer. Somehow, along the way, my poetry folder was lost. My husband doesn't know when, why, how. It was just gone. And I was starting to think, wow, am I just not supposed to have my poetry? Am I not supposed to show it? Am I not supposed to read it? What's going on here? I was so disheartened, and I was just so besides myself that, yeah, I was just completely lost. And a little while later after that, my oldest daughter, Amy, came over, and we were on the internet for some reason. I don't even know what the reason was. I could have been, this was before I was even part of BookTube. Or I may have just started BookTube. And she was looking up some things, and she came across a link. It was a Webring link. And if you don't know what a Webring link is, it's a central point where several websites are linked together in this Webring. You just go to this Webring, you can click from one site to the next site to the next site, and it just goes on and on. And everybody's websites are in this Webring. And this just happened to be a poetry Webring. And she noticed it said Messages of the Heart in the description of this link. And she says, "Hey, Mom, wasn't your poetry site called Messages of the Heart?" And I'm like, "Yes, why?" And lo and behold, this Webring had somehow saved my entire Geocities website within this ring. Not just the link. I just thought it was just links that they saved, but it was the entire website. And I was like, whoa. So we were able to save every single one of my poems back onto my computer, and it just made my day. I felt so blessed, and I no longer felt like I wasn't supposed to have this poetry. I felt blessed. I still did not feel like setting up a whole new website, but I had my poetry once again on my computer, and anytime I wanted to go back and read any of that or add to it or whatever, I had it and I was happy. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, Tamara had inspired me to share my poetry once again. And so on Blogspot, it allows us to have several different blogs. So I made a new one, and it is called Messages from a Poet. And I just wanted to come on here and share that link with you guys and see if any of you would be interested in reading my poems. I've got a couple blog posts up right now. I am not entirely sure how I'm going to set it all up, if I'm going to have separate pages, if I'm just going to have them in posts. I don't know about that part yet, but Tamara and her poetry blog, The Reverie, inspired me. I went to her site and I was a little overwhelmed. I have to do a lot of looking around, but they had a post on there called He Said, She Said, about writing a piece about conflict. And I already had a piece wrote about that. It doesn't have to necessarily be a conflict between a man and a woman, but between two parties. So that was one of my blog posts. So like I said before, I'm going to link to all of that in the description box, to Tamara's booktube, to her poetry blog, and to my new poetry blog. So you guys should all go visit that. I just thought that it was time to get it out there, and it was time to reshare it. So hopefully I will figure out how I'm going to do it soon. So yeah, you guys can go check that out. Those of you who already follow my Bookworms Buddy blog will have access to this, to my new poetry blog, I think. Either way, it's linked. They're linked together. And that's it. That's what I wanted to share. I wanted to share with all you guys. It's time. So thanks, Tamara, so much for the inspiration, and thanks to all of you for staying tuned, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.